Good afternoon. Welcome, bienvenue, and willkommen. My name is Kelly Lamb. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Miele, and we want to welcome all of you that we really trust you are staying safe at home across the country with your families. Many of you that are at home still have contacted us to ask us questions about products that you have in your home already, products that you potentially are actually interested in buying right now, or are interested to know what are some of the other services that are currently running from Miele. So we want to welcome you to Miele Live. These sessions, we will cover topics from our dishwashers, how to best load our dishwashers to get the best clean, our laundry machines. We're going to talk about the various cooking products that we have, our refrigeration product, our vacuum cleaners, our coffee makers. Pour ceux d'entre vous qui ont demandé pour avoir des sessions en français, on est en train de travailler d'avoir des sessions dans les semaines qui viennent. It's important to note these sessions are completely interactive. So for those of you, thank you for joining us right now. Some of you have already actually submitted questions for us. You can do that two ways. You can go, if you've logged in through your YouTube account or are watching us on our YouTube channel, you can go ahead and enter a comment there. For those of you that are watching us on mielelive.ca, there's a comment box at the bottom of your screen. You can go ahead and register there and feel free to send us any questions ahead of time or as we're going through the topics. Feel free to actually post a question and we will try to answer them as best as possible. So these sessions are really intended for you. They are real-time live right now. We're actually broadcasting today from our Miele Experience Center here in Toronto. That's obviously closed, but the team here is also practicing social distancing, so you're going to see that in a minute. But one of the, as many of you are home cooking more and more with your family, you have a lot of questions about cooking products. And one topic specific that you've asked us about is, what's the best cooktop for me and what choices do I have out there? So I've got our product expert, Mike, here, who's actually going to take you through choosing the right cooktop for you. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. Merci. Dankeschön. Thanks for watching, viewers out there. It's my pleasure to be able to speak to you this afternoon about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is cooking surfaces. We're going to be talking specifically about cooktops. Now, we don't want to confuse you. The topic cooktops will not really branch off, and we're not going to discuss our range tops. That we kind of group with our range family of product. So this is expressly the cooktops that we have and have had for many, many years. So traditionally, that is a core competency for us in the cooking category. Cooktops and then a hood over top of this. When you go with this kind of design philosophy in your kitchen, you free up a lot from a design perspective, but also from an ergonomic perspective. By going with a cooktop on a counter or on an island, you're no longer beholden to put an oven down below. You can now move an oven that is typically sometimes in a range configuration, most of the time, all the time, underneath the cooking surface, and you can move that up onto a wall. And certainly somebody of above average height, or even somebody of average height, really would benefit from a good working triangle by having a wall oven and then a cooktop in a really ideal situation. The other benefit, of course, by going with a cooktop is that it frees you up for that wall oven to now house perhaps a warming drawer down below, or maybe a coffee system or steam oven over top, any one of our lifestyle appliances, maybe a microwave. So if you can move your ovens to a bank on a wall, you'll find a lot of ergonomic advantages as well as design. Really, there's nothing as freeing as putting a surface on an island, which tends to be a hub in the kitchen, and not having to worry about taking that space up below. So when it comes to picking cooktops, what are going to be some of your deciding factors?
And I know, Mike, we get a lot of questions from customers, even where do I start in this process? So,
Yeah, I think a good starting point is always, number one, design. What does your design in your kitchen allow for? And then really quickly thereafter, you need to decide what kind of fuel type do you want to use to power your cooking surface. At Miele, we have a gamut that runs from your conventional radiant electric cooktop. Right along down the line, we have our induction cooktops that are a really great solution to the cooktop conundrum. And of course, for those of you who are big fans of cooking with gas, we certainly have a whole range of gas cooktops that can be also worked into your design. Now there's benefits to all of those fuel types, but there are also some drawbacks to those fuel types, and we're going to get into that a little bit here in a minute. Once you've decided what kind of fuel type you want, then it comes down to size. And so we're going to be talking about some of those size options that are available to you as we go through our cooktop lineup. And anything I do say about cooktops, keep in mind that when we talk cooktops, it's very much a system approach to also talking about the ventilation that goes above a cooktop. Now, the cooking surface is important, but also the extraction method by which you clear your kitchen of vapors, smoke, heat. That's also important to consider when you're looking at a cooktop purchase. So without further ado, I think we're going to run through our lineup really quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them on the live chat. We're going to try our best to get to those questions towards the end of our session. And if anything I say here is unclear, please ask clarifying questions. Okay, so why don't we start at electric? Electric is a very tried and true kind of approach to cooktop cooking. It's a radiant electrical burner configuration. We have size configurations that start as small as 24 inches, and then a 30-inch version like the one we see here, 36, and even as big as 42 inches wide. Now this is our classic series of electric cooktops in the 30-inch version, as I mentioned. One of the key features here from a design perspective are these brushed stainless burner control knobs on the right-hand side. So these basically control each of the elements. You'll notice that some of these burners or cooking zones have 2 rings to them. These basically denote the presence of dual burners, essentially an inner and an outer ring, depending on the size of the cookware that you're using on the surface. Another design element here is the 3D print that's on the shot saran surface on this particular classic electric cooktop. Another thing I'll point to is the beveled metal edge along the outside of this electric cooktop. It's raised slightly off the ceramic surface. Now that's pretty cool because in the event of a boil over, this will prevent a lot of superfluous fluid from flowing onto your surfaces adjoining your cooktop. Also, from a design perspective, the cooktop is, as we mount it in what I would call a proud installation or prominent above the cooking surface, the adjoining countertop. There is also the potential for mounting this flush with the surface that it is mounted to, but certainly the most popular of those 2 options in applications from experience would be this look here, which basically gives a bit of definition to the countertop surface as well. Now, this surface here is our starting point in our cooktop family. As you move through our electric lineup of cooktops, again, we mentioned size options, so you can go 24 inches wide with 3 burners, our 4-burner configuration in 30 inches. We have a 5-burner configuration at 36 inches wide. And then we also have a 42-inch version as well. Now, this is our classic or starting point in our cooktop family. Like I said, we also have a MasterChef version of these cooktops as well. I'll just pull one out of the drawer here in a minute. Our electric MasterChef cooktops are basically a removal of those brushed control knobs on the side. And then you go to a sensor bank direct select approach to controlling your surface. An example of that would be here with this 42-inch version. Now this is a 42-inch Master Chef electric cooktop with 5 big burners and a central control panel by which you can directly select each of these burners and adjust, obviously, the temperature control for each of them. Okay, now that basically covers our family of electric cooktops.
So Mike, I guess one question for electric, it is the most, I would say, common cooktop service that is out there. From I guess one question we have is from a cookware perspective for the electric cooktops themselves. Are there any limitations?
Yeah, that's a benefit actually of electric, because really anything that's flat bottomed is going to work well on an electric cooktop. If you're used to using copper pots or anything with a sandwich type metal material on the bottom, you're not having to, for example, make provisions like you would in a situation with an induction cooktop, where you're actually required to use something with ferrous material in it or iron content. So you're a little bit more flexible from that perspective as far as what kind of cookware you can use. Obviously, you can't use a round wok with an electric cooking surface, but certainly you're not having to change out your copper pots, for example, if that's something you require. So
let's move down the line. It looks like the next series of cooktops looks very similar from a distance, but it's not at all similar.
No, and people ask, is electric the same as induction? I hear it's faster. Really, what's the difference? When you move up to induction, obviously, there's a price point difference. You're going to immediately notice that. But with that comes, I would say, a number of different improvements, or shall I say, performance benefits. Number one, I think induction is the fastest by a mile, actually, as far as bringing things to heat. It is much faster than gas, somewhere like 65% faster than gas, and certainly faster than radiant electric heat. Now, if you were to put those on basically a podium, induction is certainly the gold medal standard. Electric is, I'd say, the silver medalist from a time perspective. For example, bringing 2 liters of water to a rolling boil. And then gas would follow in at 3rd place. So some people have the notion that gas is the fastest. It's what professional kitchens use and professional cooks use. That's actually not the case. Radiant heat is actually faster than gas from an electric cooktop, and then induction is faster than both. The one thing you don't get with electrical cooktops that you do with induction is instant flexibility with heat. For example, if you have a boil over scenario where you notice that you've applied too much heat, you can scale back the amount of heat quite quickly with an induction cooktop. And radiant heat, because you have an electrical coil down below that's heating a glass ceramic surface that's then heating a pot, there's a lot less as far as flexibility of temperature goes. It takes way longer to kind of cool down and then speed back up, because you're having to go through multiple layers of media. In an induction surface, essentially what you're doing is you're activating eddy currents in the bottom of the cookware. What does this mean? It means essentially the bottom of the pot becomes the heat source. So instantly heat is transferred to the material inside of the pot. So you're able to bring things to a boil much, much quicker than you would with an electric or gas cooktop. It's way easier to bring down off of a high temperature. It's really actually quite instant. And there is very little residual heat that's given off of an induction surface as well.
So Mike, when we talk about, because I think we get a lot of questions from customers on the difference between electric and induction, because I think visually it looks very, very similar. But at its most fundamental sense, how would you characterize the difference from a technical standpoint? Obviously, the electric cooktops are using electrical heating elements to do that. But what about induction?
Yeah, so with induction, you basically have the activation through basically a magnetic current that's happening, that's basically interacting with the metal pot over top. And so what this basically does is makes the bottom of the pot the heat source. What does this mean in real life scenarios? We're going to cover induction cooking a little bit more in depthly tomorrow, and we'll get into the technical aspects. But I can state that from a cleanability perspective, cleanup on an induction surface, because it runs so much cooler than a radiant heat or even a gas cooktop, makes cleanup a breeze, saving you time. Obviously, the way you cook with an induction cooktop is also going to change in your home because you're used to timing things a certain way. So if you're cutting vegetables, you put the pot on boil and you know you're going to take 15 minutes to bring your stock pot up to temperature. With induction, all of that kind of changes. So there's a bit of an adjustment period, but once you get it down, it's just going to save you time and obviously effort in the kitchen as well.
So I think on that note, Mike, so I would, Mike will actually be back tomorrow specifically to actually do a bit of hands-on demonstrations and further detailed explanations in regards to induction cooking, because it's something that's reality is not new. In Europe, has been there for a long, long time. It's a much newer technology in North America. And again, it's more, I think we want to delve a little bit deeper. We want to show you through some demonstrations, some tips and tricks, and for you to actually be able to see actually how induction works and the benefits of induction. So that's tomorrow afternoon with Mike. So
yeah,
for sure.
I think there's talking about induction and then there's cooking with induction, and that's really when these things come to life. Just to kind of quickly review the formats and different models that we have available on the induction cooktops, we make them as wide as 24 inches on the lower side and then as wide as 36 inches. We have them in 36 inches with the configuration you see here with our flex burner on the right hand side, but we also have it in a 5 burner configuration as well, and then also in 30 inches. Just another quick point before we move on from here is just to kind of explain one of the cool features with Miele induction, and that is the ability to have it pair with the hood top, with the hood above the cooktop. And so basically you're only having to operate the cook surface below, and the hood over top will essentially turn on its lights and turn on its venting capabilities without having to actually touch any of the buttons up top. That's called our Connectivity 2.0 system, which is really exclusive to Miele induction cooktops.
So Mike, I think we talk a lot about systems at Miele. So connectivity is a great one where, a lot of times people forget about the importance of ventilation itself. So maybe you could talk a little bit, I know we won't get into depth in this session as we've planned for a future session on induction or on ventilation, but maybe you can talk a little bit about the importance of ventilation in the cooking process. Because again, I think it's one of those things that sometimes gets far overlooked and forgotten.
Right, what's the saying? If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, if you can't take the heat, just buy a better a hood over top of your cooktop perhaps, or maybe go with induction. Outside of that, venting is super important. It's very fundamental, obviously. You could not do any kind of serious high heat cooking without a ventilation option over top. One quick tip, even if you have a really nice hood fan over top of your cooking surface, it's always good to open a window perhaps even in the kitchen so that you can start a current of air through your kitchen that would basically help in the extraction of vapors, smells, odors, and other byproducts of basically your cooking on your cooktop. It's fundamental that you exhaust these to the outdoors. Also, at the minimum, what you would want to consider if you don't want to vent or you can't vent, for example, if you're in a condo, there's also the opportunity with many of our hood fans to be installed in a recirculation mode, which basically has the airstream running over activated charcoal filters to remove odors from the air circuit in your home, so that at least at that point there you've removed some of the pollutants that are byproducts of the cooking process.
Good. So again, I think we will cover, because ventilation is actually a very important topic to understand how that works with your cooking surface as well. We will have actually a more detailed session in regards to ventilation. Mike, I noticed here obviously a different looking set of cooktops that are much more probably familiar to most people, so I'll let you cover that off.
Yeah, so we've talked about electric, we've talked about electrical induction, but some folks are still really big fans of cooking with gas. Some people would even say that cooking with gas makes the food taste better for some reason. It's kind of hard to believe that, but yeah, commercial kitchens for many years actually have gas as the primary source of fueling their means of cooking surfaces with big open burners and big flames. So certainly we have an option for you in our gas lineup here. We have a 36-inch version, a 5-burner, what we call our classic series of cooktop. Now the range in BTUs in this particular model is roughly on the low side at about 800 BTUs to about on the higher side, roughly around 14,000 BTUs. And BTUs are units of measure for gas output, British thermal units. And they are basically a number we assign to give to basically the power output of a particular burner. So really great for your everyday needs. And if you need to replace a cooktop, this is a good solid 20-year cooktop. Now, if you want something with just a little bit more performance, both on the high end of the BTU range, but also on the low side, getting to about 550 BTUs on the simmer side, we have our MasterChef series of cooktops. So just to get back to the classic, they start at around 24 inches, go to 30 and then 36 inches. And also I believe 42 inches in the classic series. No, classic series 42. Yeah, so many to keep track of. Anyway, on the MasterChef side, we have 30, 36, and like we see here, 42-inch 6-burner configuration. And we happen to have an optional cast iron grill and griddle configuration here. This is an accessory, obviously, and really handy for indoor grilling, or on the flip side, the griddle for making pancakes or breakfast. Really good option. Now, as I was saying with BTU output, this is a little bit more performance oriented. We have super speed burners here, getting as high as about 16,500 BTUs and as low as about 550, like I mentioned earlier. So gas is a great fuel. Obviously, a lot of flexibility. Chefs love working with gas. I would say the disadvantage on the gas side is you're putting a lot of heat into the ambient air, room air. So inevitably, if you go into a professional kitchen that's still using gas cooking surfaces, they tend to be really hot and inhospitable places to be. With the other surfaces we mentioned here earlier, induction particularly, you see a big drop off and way more comfortable room air when you're cooking with those cooler surfaces.
So if I look at those two models, Mike, obviously they're much more proud. It really gives you a much more kind of commercial kitchen look, like you said. Maybe we can look a bit at the next one down here, because it's gas, but I would say from a design perspective, it really provides a customer a very, very different look.
Yeah, the venerable 2355. This is a hybrid, I would say, between MasterChef and Classic almost. You have really good 5-burner capability, really high performance burners, a wok burner in the middle here, which is great for wok cooking. I would also say that the key feature here is how you're able to get a gas cooktop at an almost flush with countertop design aesthetic, which is really neat from a form factor. I really like the way that this integrates into a cooking surface and can be really pretty stealthy looking in the kitchen, with the benefits of obviously the performance that you get with a good gas cooktop. So that's a really good one to point out, Kelly.
And then if we head down to one of our last sets further down, this one again looks very, very different in a lot of ways, maybe a little more modular.
Yeah, so this is for the folks that can't decide what they want in their kitchen. Do I want gas? Do I perhaps want an electric barbecue? We have a modular approach with our combi sets. For example, the big wok combi set we see here with BTU output, it's our single biggest gas burner actually in our entire lineup at 27,500 BTUs. So if you're into wok cooking, you know, high heat coming up the sides of the wok, this is the burner for you. And then you can integrate more conventional style cooking surfaces next to the wok surface as well. So to recap, we have options in all main cooktop categories. In addition to this, we talked briefly at the beginning that we also have a full lineup of range surfaces as well, but just keep in mind those tend to be all gas centric. There are liquid propane options in our range top series as well. And keep in mind that you can, depending on the size, go with a griddle embedded or an indoor char grill as well in the range top family.
So Mike, I'm going to pull from a question right now from one of our viewers. It seems like you have a very loyal viewer, Esther, who's back with us in this session. And Esther's question is, and I think we get this one a lot, is, you know, after going through this, would you recommend gas or induction? And it's always a difficult question for us to answer.
Would I go gas or induction? I see the benefits in both fuel types. I would say that my personal preference is certainly induction. I've become a believer. Owning is believing, but also seeing what's happening in commercial kitchens everywhere. Kelly, you're a big foodie. You know that in some pretty prominent professional kitchens the world round, that more and more professional kitchens are adopting induction as the fuel of choice. And then again, that harks back to some of the benefits we mentioned. The environment which cooks want to be cooking at are greatly improved when you go with induction. It's very flexible. From an installation perspective, you can put it literally anywhere as long as you have access to good electrical. And really the trade-off there is cookware. And as long as you have good cookware with ferrous material in it, your results are going to be amazing.
But would you say, Mike, on that one too, it is a bit of personal preference and level of comfort, because on the flip side, with gas, it's relatively easy to operate. You know, I think there's the one huge benefit of gas that people like is the visibility of, I can see a flame. So, you know, for those people that actually prefer, I would say, a much more easy and visual approach, gas has that benefit that induction doesn't.
Yeah, and if that's a factor that speaks highly to you 100%, then gas is going to be your option, and I won't be able to convince you otherwise. My personal preference is on the induction side, but absolutely gas is certainly still king and still very, very prevalent in kitchens the world over.
Yeah. And I think with induction cooking, I think that's why, you know, I'm excited to also tomorrow go through the induction series with you, because I think there's a lot of misunderstandings or lack of understanding in regards to induction cooking. And there's a reason why also professional kitchens are moving more and more to induction cooking, because there's also the aspect of control. And I know you're going to talk specifically about that tomorrow, so we won't go into that right now, but I think it'll be a good session tomorrow.
Yeah,
with induction.
Looking forward to it.
Good. So the next question we have is from David. Hi, David. Thanks for joining us today. David's question is, would the induction cooktop be considered more family-friendly in terms of safety?
Okay, David, I don't want to steal my thunder for tomorrow's session, but certainly I would say that it is. Again, if you haven't figured it out, I'm kind of biased. But when it comes to induction, there's a couple of things that, from a safety perspective, really would speak to you. Number one, there is the function of being able to lock your cooktop so that in the event that somebody were to go onto it and try to start it up, essentially a child lock prevents any kind of activity from happening. Also, it's got spillover protection, so if you had a boil over happen and the controls were covered for any amount of time, more than 10 seconds, the cooktop will stop operating. So, and also the residual heat that's embedded in the cooktop post-cooking. So the temperature, even though the bottom of your cookware gets really hot, the radiant heat that comes off that is actually what makes your cooking surface warm and never super scalding hot as you would with gas and an electric surface. So to sum it up, I would say, David, yeah, it's probably the safest through the three fuel types.
Good. Thanks, David, for that question. Next question, Mike, from a viewer, and this one we also commonly get a lot around cooking surfaces, is maintenance and cleaning of the cooking surfaces. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. I know each one is slightly different, but are there, for example, elements within the cooking surfaces that are dishwasher safe? And then if there is spillage over into the cooking surface, what's the best way to clean? And you may have to talk by different surface because it is a bit different by cooking surface.
Yeah, if I could really quickly sum it up from a maintenance perspective, I'd say electrical cooktops, they are glass ceramic surfaces, really easy to clean and wipe down. If you're cooking and you have a spill and it's a dessert sauce that's high in sugar, the key is to jump on it as quickly as possible and not let it set in with the exposure to heat. That's one of the things with an electric cooktop. You get a lot of residual heat left over, so you want to get on that as quickly as possible. And then also there's the use of a metal scraper that is recommended for things that really kind of bake on. But getting on it as quickly as possible on an electric surface is probably what I would recommend from a cleanability perspective. Don't apply additional heat and then really bake in stains from previous cooking sessions for sure. That's also kind of translatable to the gas side. Now with gas, we obviously have cast iron grates, and if you joined us for any of our dishwasher sessions or the range session, our grates here are dishwasher safe, so you can put them in our dishwashers. The bottom basket does a great job. We have in our lineup from Dimension and above a grates program that actually actions the cast iron in your grates, so saving you a ton of time at the sink trying to scrub those clean. Mm-hmm. And then on the induction side, I tend to cheat at my house with my induction surface. If I'm going to, for example, fry dumplings, I know that there's going to be spillover of or splash of oil when I'm cooking. I'll pre-line my induction cooktop with paper towel, and that'll prevent a whole cleanup in and of itself. And essentially the pot is still being heated at the same time, and maybe we can show that tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder from tomorrow either, but yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits of induction, so for sure. So unfortunately, I think we have run short on time, or over time. There's still some questions. Again, we'll be sure to try to get to those questions via the comment section, or if your question is a little more detailed, we will get back to you via email for that. Mike, for those customers right now that, one, are still interested in purchasing one of our cooktops right now, what options do they have? Where can they go? How can they buy?
Yeah, so we're still here to kind of fill your needs from an essentials perspective, and so you're still able to contact us directly at Miele Canada. You can engage in a phone consultation where we can one-on-one deliver you some information and help you kind of proceed to sale and get a cooktop in home. We're still able to do that as well. Yep. And so there's that. In addition to this is our dealer network that's still in some cases open on an essential basis. You may want to find our retailer page on our website to determine the location and phone number to contact before going out. So there's those two methods.
And from a, I guess, promotion standpoint in regards to cooktops, what's available for customers right now from Miele?
Yeah, so we have our complete cooking program, of which the cooktop is a piece of which can be included, and that provides you essentially savings of up to 10%, starting at 5% with 3 cooking pieces. The cooktop can be a piece, and you can get all the way up to 10% if you include ventilation and a refrigeration product. So just keep in mind that is available. In addition to this program for Ontario residents only, the federal government has basically bestowed upon us funds to promote Energy Star rated appliances and our induction cooktops. Again, I'm a favorite.
If they can't tell by now, Mike.
Yeah. So another added benefit of the induction cooktop is it's an Energy Star appliance, and therefore falls into this program, so you can avail yourselves to an additional savings there of, I believe, up to $500 currently with the induction cooktops. So by themselves, not tethered to any other cooking appliances, you can take advantage of that rebate program as well.
Yeah, and it goes a lot to say, of all the 3 cooktop types or fuel types that Mike talked about, there's a reason why the induction cooktop is the only one that actually qualifies for the energy rebate. Again, I think Mike will delve a little bit tomorrow into really the inner workings of the induction cooking surface and why it's so efficient from an energy standpoint, but also from a usage standpoint. Lastly, Mike, before we wrap up today, we talked about, and we get, again, a lot of questions from you that have our products, but it's really any cooking service in your home about cleaning and maintenance. How can we help customers right now with cleaning and maintenance of their cooktops as they're actually cooking probably more and more at home, given that they're at home with their families?
Yeah, so we are obviously an appliance manufacturer, but very closely tethered to that is a system approach from a consumable side. And so right now with our web shop, you're able to avail yourselves to an additional savings of consumable product in connection with our cooktops here. And so we have this set available now for 30% off. It includes a microfiber cloth, ceramic hob cleaner, which is great at cleaning your electric gas cooktops, your electric cooktops or induction cooktops, and an oven cleaner, which is a great product at cleaning, obviously, your oven. And if you enter your Miele Live Range promo code
right now
on the checkout, you're able to basically get an additional 10% off for the next, until 4:30, I would say. 4:30 Eastern.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so there's that as well. And of course, free delivery on any of our consumables is ongoing. So take advantage of that offer because it's really great savings.
Yeah, we're trying to make it, I think, with free shipping as easy as for you as possible. This set here that you see, so you can either get an additional 10% off the existing promotion that's there at 30% for everybody else. But again, for you that are watching today, it's an additional 10. If you want to buy these individually, you can as well. The only thing to note on that one is the microfiber cloth only comes in this set. So if you're interested in the microfiber cloth, you'll have to buy that set as such. So as we wrap up here today, again, we want to thank you for joining us. We know these are very challenging times for all of us. Many of you at home have questions, again, about the services that we're offering right now during this time. So if you are interested in purchasing, we have Miele.ca, our Miele shop, open 24/7. We obviously have, we can ship or deliver to your home. You can also utilize our new service, the private or personal product consultation telephone service. You can request an appointment on Miele.ca for that. During that service as well, we can actually take your order over the phone if we don't have that product online. So the team there will be able to take care of you from that perspective. When it comes to installing and delivering the product, so Miele, we have our own installation and delivery service, which are currently available. We are obviously ensuring for the safety of both our customers and our own team members There are revised procedures and processes there. Best place is visit miele.ca to see those new guidelines, but at the end of the day, we will be able to get that product out to you still. For those of you that have our product that may need a little help through our technical service, Miele certified technicians are still available as well with revised guidelines. Please visit miele.ca for specifics on that. Our own Canadian call center is still operating fully, although they are working remotely again for the safety of our own team, but visit miele.ca for the hours there as well. Very lastly, when talking about the Miele shop, you see here, I think many of us that are stuck at home with our families, we still have celebrations to be had, whether it's birthdays or anniversaries. And so a perfect gift is the Miele e-gift card that's available on miele.ca. It's a digital gift card that you can share with your friends and family, whether they want to go online, pick up a vacuum cleaner, experience one of our coffee machines, try some of our new coffee beans, which we've covered in Miele Live sessions. So a great gift idea for your friends and family. We have some exciting sessions coming up this afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're doing a live cooking demonstration with our Miele combination steam convection oven. That's going to be great. Mike's going to be back tomorrow to do a bit of a hands-on demonstration with induction cooking that he loves so much. So he'll give you some amazing tips and tricks, really things that will surprise you, I'm sure, that you didn't realize induction can offer. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're doing a session where you will actually cook with us. If you go on miele.ca or miele.live.ca, you register for that session, we will send you a copy of the recipe that we will cook. And really the idea is you will cook with us, and by the time you're done, your dinner with your family will be ready. So we're really excited for that. Hopefully you can join us for that. And very, very lastly, before we sign off, on behalf of the Miele team here, we really want to send our best and appreciation to all the frontline workers out there that are ensuring Canadians remain safe, that we have food in our houses, can get food in our houses, and we really want to sincerely thank all of you for the work that you are doing for the community and the country. So again, thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we hope to see you at the next session of Miele Live.